inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher, unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no, real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey there, guys. I am so excited about this segment and many more segments to come throughout the life of this podcast. I have conducted over 40 interviews prior to launching Real Women Don't Bitch, and I've spoken with several entrepreneurs who have given away their secrets, talked about how you properly brand yourself, mindset hacks, getting support, dealing with the change in family dynamics, all of that stuff that this show has been to talk about. I've had the privilege of interviewing several entrepreneurs. What I'm going to do is allow you to hear some of the most powerful segments that have come from some amazing summits that I have conducted. Enjoy and listen to the wisdom that is going to come from this speaker. All right. Hello, you guys. We are here. We're back. We have another awesome interview. I ran into this beautiful woman on IG. I want to give her the honor of telling you who she is. I have been blessed to be in her presence. I'm so happy that she's a part of this summit. So, Cassie, please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
August, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and be with all your audience. And I'm sure that you have some incredible, amazing spirits in this group today. So truly, anyone who's watching today, it's an honor for me to be able to speak with you today. And I'm very humbled just to be in your presence. And thank you for inviting me to this summit. My name is Cassie and I'm a self-worth mindset expert. I've had an incredible story that has brought me to this place in my life. I'm a mom to 2 beautiful children. I'm married. I'm a Canadian, and I absolutely love Mexican food. I'm actually half Mexican, so you put me down with like a plate of tacos, and I'm like super happy, super stoked to be engaged with that. Food is actually really, really big passion of mine. And it's truly one of my motivating factors for building a global business has been to be able to travel to different parts of the world and just eat exotic food. Ooh. So, yeah, absolutely. I know, right? So, and I've been very fortunate to have been able to work and collaborate with some incredible leaders in the industry and have thankfully just attracted some really beautiful souls into my life that have been inspiring, that have actually helped me grow and become like this really, really cool, powerful woman in the community of entrepreneurialism. Thank you. But I give a lot of credit just to spirit and source and to energy, because it's so prevalent around us that for me to say like that this is a complete embodiment of like just me would be taking just a little bit too much credit from either the universe or God or, you know, whoever you may call upon.
Yes.
But it is, yeah, it's super cool to be here with you guys. So
yes, no, thank you. And I know that everybody appreciates having you here. I have watched you, and I have listened to your content, when you pop in and you do your videos on IG. And one of the things I noticed that you, like you said, because you're into mindset, I noticed you speak a lot about nudges, a lot about you were made with a purpose, excuse me. And, you're not going to be content until you actually tap into it. Don't let that genius, in you die. That's to really want to pull so much greatness from people for them to awaken to who they are. How did you get to that point? Because that's a really powerful thing. Most people, they want to build themselves up, and a lot of people have a scarcity mentality, and you're like, no, everybody's great. I want everybody to know who they are. You're sleeping on your gift. How did you get there? How did you get to this part of your life?
That's a great question. A lot of it came from a heavy load of shame on my life. So growing up as a kid, I just remember always feeling out of place. I always remember feeling like, I was always doing something wrong. Like I just felt like there was just like this heavy load of shame on my shoulders. And as I matured and came through into like puberty and into teenage, and then all of a sudden like college and all this kind of stuff, I remember that feeling like it just never really fully went away. And I always really knew, like inside of me, even as a kid, I remember journaling, and I would journal and I would write poetry, and all these like beautiful words would always come and flow out of me, similar to now what I actually do on a regular basis, but I share it now publicly, is so these inspired words, I call them inspired words, were always channeling through me. But because I just had such this like crazy amount of guilt, such this crazy amount of stuff, even though I technically wasn't even doing anything wrong. It's so crazy. I was like a really great kid. I just remember feeling like inadequate, not enough, and that kind of stuff. And as I came into, marriage, I brought all of the stuff with me, and all of a sudden then I was in a partnership. Right. And I had all these like weird expectations on me, and all this like weird stuff. And I remember just feeling like a crumbling of spirit. Like I remember just feeling like, a decay to a certain extent of my light inside of me, because I never understood how to acknowledge it. I never understood that it should be acknowledged or anything like that. And I continued on in life, just kind of ignoring it. Like seriously, like literally ignoring all the red flags, all the signs, all the stuff that was constantly trying to nudge me to start to pay attention to it. I just kept on ignoring it, and had children and the whole bit. And it wasn't up until my second child, I just broke. Like I broke because I was carrying so much. I was working part-time jobbing in an organization that was beautiful in the sense of what you would normally think you would really thrive in. But for me, I was just feeling suffocated within it. Even within my marriage, I was feeling suffocated because I was like, there's just so much demands on me, even in my children. Even though that was supposed to be one of the most happiest times of my life, I was resentful. I was bitter. And what was happening is that as we come into our being, we have to be really gracious with ourselves. We have to really understand that when you are a child, your environment affects you. You adopt behaviors and habits that may not necessarily be in alignment, but they're coping mechanisms.
Absolutely.
So it's really being gracious with yourself and realizing like, okay, so you brought in a lot of stuff into your adulthood that you as an adult now get to say yes or no to.
Absolutely.
But before you can get to that position of being empowered by choice, you absolutely have to acknowledge, recognize, and heal what's actually happened and just give it a voice. So often we're so afraid to actually just speak our truth because we're afraid of what it's going to do to someone else. We're afraid that it's going to hurt someone else's feelings. And what ends up happening is you literally create a cage for yourself. And I'm sure it's a lovely cage, but it's not one that you can actually fly or grow or inhabit new space in. So, what ended up happening is, after my second child and after I started realizing just how unhappy I was, like so unhappy, so angry. Oh my gosh. And I could feel it in my body, right? Like my spine, your spine's supposed to be like straight, like it's supposed to have a little dip. Mine started curving into an S shape. Wow. So literally I was so out of alignment with who I am as a woman.
That's heavy.
As a person, that my body was contorting. Like how crazy is that, right? Like
that's real.
That's real stuff happening.
Yes.
How much more of a wake-up call do you need? And so it was this like process, and I broke. And a lot of women especially will experience this. And I'm sure if you're a woman right now and you're in the midst of that right now and you're just feeling broken, I'm just going to really encourage you with a lot of love to stop, to create a pause in your life and to start questioning, seek resource from within. Start asking yourself some questions that you have probably been spinning around in your head, and just pause. Everything else can wait. And I'm talking even your children, your family, it all can wait until you figure out what is actually happening in here. And then you can go out and be of service again. So that's where a lot of that comes from, is this realization that in order for me to actually, because here's the deal, there's a lot of people that are birthed with this desire to make an impact in the world. They love, this feeling of like looking at another stranger and seeing that they're actually in hurt and pain. You know, they feel a need to do something, not for their own gain. Yeah. There is a significance in that, but it's an automatic response. And I was denying that part of me, you know, trying to seek it in other things, but it just wasn't enough because it wasn't alignment. So I was denying. And I was just giving. And things were just taking. So when I was able to actually fuel myself and give all of everything to me, I literally got so selfish for my growth. I became super selfish in everything. I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing that. Dad, I'm quitting my job. Right? Yeah. And I just, for a year, I was hungry. And I just took in everything that I possibly could that was just for me. I was so hungry, and I invested into my growth. I invested into coaching. I actually went to events. You know what I mean? Like I traveled, like I did stuff just for me. And it was so liberating. It was so beautiful, and it allowed me to reconnect. And I came away from it a better mom. I came away from a better wife. I came a better person in society. And because I know how you can go from being in such a state of brokenness and anger and bitter and resentment to all of a sudden realizing that you've always been this way, and you are actually a beautiful creation that was really intended to be here to do great things. Great things is different for everybody, but if you're not challenging yourself to step outside of comfort, if you're not challenging yourself to grow, then you're stifling your greatness every single day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
You said there were so many nuggets, and I want to at least try to connect several dots. I love what you said in the beginning. I literally just did a live in my group where I told them, you don't know yourself. Because at this point, you are still the person you are based off the temperament of your parents. Yeah. And I gave the example of two kids. You know, if one of them's a little bit more rambunctious and the other one is quiet, sometimes the parents may say, why can't you be a little bit more like your brother or sister and settle down? Or maybe if your parents are high energy, they may say to you, can't you be more outgoing? You know, so a lot of us, we are still being that facade that we had to be for so long, you know, so that was, you know, one thing that I got out of that, you know, and the whole purpose of this summit, you know, I'm very big on people having their personal, their professional, and their spiritual life in harmony. And I hear so many things coming from you in reference to the spirit and making sure that you're okay. And one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that they get out there and they start doing, and they haven't broken away from that thing. And so they drain themselves, and they don't understand that putting themselves first is not a mistake, because your kids, they're still there. Your spouse, he's still there. And guess what? Unfortunately, if they weren't, that would be okay too, because that would be saying that I deserve to let you all have your freedom, because unfortunately, we don't like to say it, but we make a lot of these connections, and we've made them before we know who we are. So if we disconnect, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. But something else too, I thought, I was thinking of so many things while you were talking. That person that it naturally has that gift, you know who you are. You're on the summit, you're listening now, and you're the person that when you were younger, you would be like, I don't know what it is, but when I'm on the bus stop, strangers just come to me and they tell me all of their business. Or, hey, you want to know what was really crazy today? I was at work and I was sitting in my office and someone came in and, you know, they were really going through so much. And I felt so much better because I've been through something similar. And I told them X, Y, and Z. And it's those little bitty things that you don't even realize that the universe is showing you. who you are and what you're capable of. People keep coming to you to be impacted by you. And a lot of us, we just dismiss it as, something that just happened in time, but on the positive side, you got the nudge with your spine and your stress, but you also have these positive nudges that are like trying to look, this is you.
Absolutely.
That I'm trying to bring you out, because that's what I thought of while you were speaking. I was just sitting here thinking like, yeah, I've been seeing it all my life that this is what I'm supposed to do. And there are actually some people that I'm friends with in my Facebook group that I went to high school with, and they'll comment on the videos. Yep, you've been doing this since I knew you.
That's so awesome.
So I really hope that the people that are listening, that they're taking the time to say, wait a minute, what nudges have been coming to me? What have I been ignoring? Why am I ignoring it? And then you have to go and say, well, maybe I'm not trying to ignore it, but I'm not being still enough. Now, you talked a lot about, you said you spent a year. You just were hungry, and you invested in coaching. You went to events. How did that work out for you? Were you blessed? Did you have a great experience out the gate? Did you have any red flags? Is there any advice that you could give to people about the selection process? How do you know what to chime or to tap into? Because that's one of the entrepreneur's problems. It's so much stuff out there. How did you get clarity on where to go and what to do?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So when it came to the first times that I would start to work with coaches, I didn't even know that coaches existed when I started on this journey. I was listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of books. One book that I highly recommend would be The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. If you're just starting out, if you're just coming to awakening, if you're just on the very cusp of going okay, who am I and why am I feeling this way? Those questions, if you are answering those questions and you're drawing a blank, or you're things are pouring out and you're just not sure where to channel them, I'd strongly say to pick up Brene Brown's book, Gifts of Imperfection, and read through it and just see what comes to you. And it's very, very healing. It's incredible work that she's done.
Okay.
Now, so I did a lot of, pre-reading before that. I was also part of a network marketing company that was a beautiful company, still is a beautiful company. And they offered a lot of personal development just for free. So I was listening to a lot of people. I was listening to a lot of leaders in the industry. And these people are really authentic, awesome people. And that was one of the first events I went to, was this incredible event where, yes, it's obviously focused on product and stuff, but also the company is so integral that the people I was listening to, I was like, this is amazing. And they had one speaker the day before it launched who was a coach. I had no idea about him, never heard about him in my life or anything like that. But I went to the seminar, I listened, and everything he was saying was spot on. Everything he was saying, I was like, shit, sorry if I swear.
No,
you are
good.
Okay, you're totally calling me out on so much stuff. And the moment he opened his mouth and started speaking, I knew I was going to work with him. I just knew it. There was no doubt in my mind. I felt called to it. I felt connected to it. And that's how I've made my decisions.
Okay.
Moving forward is I will listen. And if it feels in alignment, and this is the thing about building up trust in yourself, and so many people, so I want to just let you guys know, it's a step-by-step process. So building that trust in yourself and your intuition, because unfortunately, we are very programmed to not rely on our intuition. We're not taught about intuition. We're not taught about listening to your body, about listening to the inner spirit and all these sorts of things. We're just not taught about that. So when presented with options and ideas and things that we could be doing, we will often gravitate towards what we think we should be doing. So a lot of the time people will, in their analytical brain, will gravitate towards strategy. Well, this person has this, so that's what I'm going to do, as opposed to going okay, well, what's actually speaking to me about this? So challenge your thoughts, challenge what it is that is actually presented towards you. So whenever you have an opportunity to either work with somebody, listen to what it is that they're saying. Is it in alignment with what you believe about yourself?
Yes.
And if it is, then odds are they have something to teach you. If it's just about how to make another 6K, if it's just about how to put another 60 grand in your pocket and that kind of stuff by just doing this, then you really challenge that. Is that truly in alignment with where you're going?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that was a big key indicator for me. And when I worked with him, it was intense. It was amazing. I loved it. It was a challenge. And I got to actually spend time with him at a like a breakthrough retreat that was with a lot of other people. And, you know, it totally re-grounded myself. It was amazing. It was amazing. And he was exactly the right person for me to be with at that time. So often we can look at our journey and go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I spent money here and I shouldn't have done it. It's like, look, it actually all merges together. It all comes full circle. So there is no right or wrong in what you're doing. You cannot make a mistake when you are intentionally seeking yourself. You cannot make a mistake. So give yourself a little peace, right? And that's why I say I talk actually a lot about grace these days. I talk a lot about that because we're so hard on ourselves. We're so hard because I'll bring up what you were saying before, because I wanted to touch on this is, you know, when you're at the bus stop and you're talking with somebody and they're like, wow, you're just so amazing at this. We're not taught to think about that and go, wow, I am amazing at that. We're taught to shrug it off. We're taught to do this because how often do we view either our leaders or mentors in our life as children who, if you remember your mom or you remember your aunt or whoever raised you, whoever was a prominent figure in your life, if you remember what would happen when someone would give them a compliment, what would they do? Odds are they deflected it. Yeah. More than likely, right? Very rarely do you come across a woman who, when you give her a compliment, she goes, thank you. I'm going to receive that. Thank you so much. That is, you know what? You're right. Absolutely. You. Okay. So hence why we are not able to make the connection to what is already known to us because we're taught to deflect it. So yeah.
Bravo again. You know, I love it because literally this is like, were you on a fly on the wall? Were you in the room with some of the conversations that I had? You know, on the summit that I just did, you know, I was asked, you know, what advice would I give to a woman to empower herself or anybody? And I remember saying, you know, that they're struggling, if they always look with guilt and shame. And I said, one of the things would be to just learn how to take a compliment. I was like, I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but if you want to grow and get out of that place. And I said, it's just like somebody coming to me and saying, hey, your hair looks really pretty. And then I say, oh, wow, you think so? It was actually getting old. Thanks. It's like, why did you add the other part in? Why did you just say thank you? Thank you. And I am big on bragging. Yes, I am. There is something completely different. It's not even a fine line between bragging and being confident. They're spectrums apart from each other. And if you don't know who you are, if you don't love what you do, if you can't talk about what you do with this force and this authority, then that might be why some of you guys are out there struggling and not attracting the people that you're looking for, because you're not being you. People want you, you know. I love that. You and I have similar methodologies and mindsets on several things. The name of my company, because we, you know, hey guys, just so you know, we're also building our relationship as this is going. This is the phenomenon of what online business building has allowed us to do. This isn't what this segment is about, but you know, I love to throw in nuggets. Relationship building, collaboration is very important. And unfortunately, so many people like to just hit up your Facebook or your IG and say, hey, do you need this? You want to buy my stuff? But this is the magic that can happen because of the internet, because I wouldn't have been able to connect to you like this 10 years ago. But back to what I was saying, the name of my company is Created. And my tagline is to be extraordinary and convert others.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I'm all about the bragging, baby. I am all about the bragging. We got to know who we are. So, you know, but I love what you said about the intuition. And I am a very intuitive person, but I wasn't taught to tap into it. And when I began my entrepreneurial journey, that's when that intuition was popping up. And I found myself pushing it down. And it was because I was having a war with what my mind, the analytical, was saying and what my spirit and my body was feeling. And I know, and I'm going to let you elaborate on this a little further, but to kind of give an example with me, somebody could be speaking and I could be like, that sounds like it might be all right. You know, emotionally, I didn't feel any kind of way, but analytically, I might listen and say, well, it's going to do X, Y, and Z for my business. And so maybe that's the smart thing to do. And so then I opted in and I purchased some type of package online or something that did absolutely nothing at that moment to help me. You know, it was not the best decision at that moment, but it's okay. And then there would be other times where I would be like, wow, this is it. I can see it. I can hear it. I don't just, this is so spot on. And there's this pull, there's this energy. And then I would do the opposite. My brain would be saying, yeah, but do you make this investment? And why would you spend this money? You know, so there's a difference between the mental and the spiritual, and they definitely do clash. You know, can you give a nugget to kind of help people gauge how to listen, you know, how to tap into that intuition? Just so I know you have to work through a process with people.
Well, yeah, I think it's physical. I think you feel it in your gut. You know, I really do. I think that's why, you know, if you feel it in your gut or not, that's why it's an expression, because I think you feel it in that sort of like area deep below.
Yeah.
And like, that's the thing. It's like, just, if you do feel that, do it. It's never going to lead you to the wrong place. Like, it's not going to send you down like a horrible path or anything like that. It's really just like listening. You can do some breath work around it if that's helpful, because sometimes when the decision making has to be made quickly, it can feel overwhelming. Now, I also would like to let people know that's also like, that's a sales tactic. So I like to let people I want to be super transparent about what's actually happening behind the scenes, because I've been in the industry for so long, because I've watched so many things and I've invested into so many different aspects. And like honestly, I've invested into so much. And I'm so happy that I did, because now when I'm in the process of hearing someone make a close, because these things do happen. Like, you have to know, if you're going to be an entrepreneur or if you're going to be starting to invest into yourself, know that there's an actual close. There's a sequence to things. There's an emotional trigger that they actually are trying to pull from you. Now, there is still authenticity within that. Okay. Just because they're pulling on an emotion doesn't mean it's not authentic. Right. But it does mean that you then get to do a self-check and be like, okay, am I being pulled into this because of the environment, because of, you know, what I can see that's going to be happening afterwards? And am I being pulled into this because I want their success story? Or am I being pulled into this because this is going to enhance my success story?
Bingo.
So, right. So just challenge your thoughts, challenge why you want to do something. And if you come away from that and you're going like, no, I want to do this because I can see that this is exactly where my next best step is. And I'm like, this just feels right. Like, you know, do you see the difference in tone even? Yeah. Like, so just picture yourself. This might actually help a lot of people, because so picture yourself, you just listened to an incredible webinar and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally want to do that. I love this person. Like, he or she was just amazing. They spoke everything. It's like they were in my mind and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, yeah, I have to do that. I have to do this. Picture yourself going to your significant other and being like, hey, I want to do this like course and that kind of stuff. And picture yourself. If they say no, are you easily swayed? And you're like, oh, okay, not a big deal, which would be a key indicator that it's actually not a big deal. Yeah. Or are you going like, shoot, I really want to do this. I got to find a way to make it work. Right. So that's also another great way to like put yourself into that place and be like, okay, I have to tell somebody I want to do this. And I know that this has to be a mutual decision. Is this actually in alignment? Yeah. Is this actually what I want? Or can I leave it?
Absolutely. I love that. That was beautiful. And the point is, when you're an entrepreneur, it's on you. And when there was one young lady, I remember working with her, she said something to me and I said, sweetie, that's not CEO mentality. I said, when something goes wrong, people look at the top. I mean, if you were in a restaurant and the waitress is tripping, you don't want to talk to the waitress. You don't, hey, come here, let me tell you about how poor, no, you're like, where's the manager? And if the manager doesn't work right, you're like, where's the hotline? I want the HR email. And like, you know, some of us, we go extreme. We want free meal, whole nine, you know, whatever. but you go up. And so here's like, to me, this is what I'm gathering from what you're saying and based on my own principles. And please correct me if you're not in alignment with what I'm saying, is that the primary thing is that you need to understand is that the buck stops here. It's whatever happens, it's on you, because we just talked about before, you know, there are no mistakes. You just got to get out there and you got to do. But while you're going through the process, while you're hearing the sales pitch, and while you think that this is what you're supposed to do, and if you feel like you got shammed or whatever afterwards, but what you have to understand is that no one really knows what you need the way that you need it.
That's
Regardless
right.
of whether there was an emotional trigger or not, it's about self-reflection. It's about ownership.
Yeah.
And you've got to own this thing. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're saying that I'm the head. I'm the leader. And so you have to own the circumstance and own the situation.
Absolutely.
You know,
if you keep on making purchases or keep on talking to people that are actually not in alignment and are actually like screwing you over or actually scamming you, or if you've been scammed or anything like that, you do have to even take ownership for that.
Yes.
Because there was something inside of you that was going and that was looking at them and going, I want something that they have and I think that they can save me.
Yes.
Who saves you? Who saves your business? No, it is integral for you to understand that this is your deal. Yeah. So if it's your mess up, it's your mess up. If it's your success, it's your success. But it belongs to you.
Absolutely.
So if you find yourself continually making poor investments, it would be a good idea to take a pause and to really ask yourself some questions like, why am I continually attracted to this type of a person?
Yeah.
What do I believe that this person is going to do for me? And now what have I learned through this process?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's always a reflection on something that you feel is missing inside.
Yeah. And that's a difficult place, but if you really want to grow, that's another part of getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of the comfort of always having someone else to blame or someone else to look on. You know, this has been awesome. I've been enjoying myself, and I could talk to you all day. I don't know if the people want to listen all day. I think they would, though, because this is really good, juicy stuff. You know, so my thing is just straight off the top of the dome, they're listening. The people, you guys, you're out here, you're listening, and you are frustrated as an entrepreneur. You have made some of those decisions. You've been working your business. You haven't had the success that you want. Then there's another handful of you that you're here. You know, you're called to do something. You're overwhelmed because there is so much out there. You don't know what to get. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to turn. All of this is a lot for you. What can you say to them that are listening right now? What would be that last piece of advice to say, this is how you have your breakthrough moment?
To find the simplest solution. So if you're looking at a lot of different things and you're trying to figure out what the next thing to do is, really truly find the simplest. And I would even say sometimes the most cost-effective solution. I've invested a ton into my personal growth and I've not regretted one investment, but there does come a point where that has to tip, where you have to now start to trust yourself, trust your message, trust the inner calling, whatever it is that you have been called to do, start trusting it, and then now start embodying it. Yes. Become it, be it. Instead of the frenzy of trying to do more, just start existing more. And in that, really, really, truly, find the simplest way to get your message out. So often the people that have all those cool sponsored FB ads, the people that are doing all that really, really awesome swipe up and Instagram stuff, and they're taking it to a YouTube page and all this sort of cool stuff in their shops. Listen, they have a team of people that have structured their marketing to be able to do this so effectively. They're not doing it. Okay. Yeah. What you have to do is get away from the frenzy of what everyone else is doing. Yes. Stop comparing your point A to their point S. Okay. Yes. You're not there. You will get there as long as you stop trying to buy your way into it. So stay where you are. Focus on what you can do today that produces an income for you. So whatever, maybe it's instead of sitting and thinking on that offer that you've been thinking about for the past couple months, put it out there. Put it out in wherever your audience is. If you're primarily on Instagram and that's where all your crew is hanging out, then please hang out there, show up consistently, and share your message. And at the end, say, you know what? If anyone has any questions or if anyone would like to dig further, send me an email, send me a message. Not a big deal, guys. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be super simple. You do not if you're just starting out, you do not need all the bells and whistles. I am telling you, you don't even need a website. So get all that crazy stuff out of your head and start just being in action and start getting really, really clear on your message. If you don't know who you're talking to, you're going to just be completely swimming in a sea of like absolute confusion. You must know who your ideal client is.
It was a pleasure to share this segment with you. I know there were plenty of nuggets that you walked away with to strengthen you as a business owner. If you would like to get access to the additional 35 videos with the full interview, along with a great workbook to help you refine and fine-tune and tweak your business, head on over to the website and find out how you can get the rest of the audios for the Real Talk for Business Mastery Summit interviews. Until the next segment, you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in